had some sisal twine and electrical conduit laying around and wanted a homespun trellis to grow beans and cucumbers by the porch. I had my mother, sister, and nephew helping to weave the structure into existence, although you could argue that my nephew's help was more symbolic. After drilling some holes through the electrical conduit, driving them into the soil, and threading some twine from one to the other in strategic points, we went ahead weaving in knots and loops. Electrical conduit is a cheap, durable material that is sure to be structurally sound for decades to come. We chose to use sisal twine because we had a large roll laying around that was asking to be used. Also, making this trellis with a softer natural material would impart a charming, relaxed look to the front porch, while a more utilitarian design using some kind of mesh would be more durable of a solution. Using natural materials imparts whimsy into a garden, something that every front yard needs a bit. After tying in lines as spokes radiating from the center, we begin to fill in the gaps much like a spider would. Perhaps a disoriented spider, but I digress. Sure, I knew that the twine I used would not last more than a season or two. After all, it's compostable. And sure, it may not be the most efficient design, but it was very affordable, considering I already had the twine. When we got the mesh woven all around, we added a couple of twigs as if they had been stuck in the web. We were pleased with this hippie-inspired trellis. All it needed now to complete were plants growing in it. Of course, that would need a few weeks. You can't rush these things. But I had already planted them and they were growing. I certainly was not disappointed. The scarlet runner beans and cucumbers had loved the feeling of the sisal. I'm sure plants prefer to climb onto rope rather than metal or even plastic. Okay, I may be projecting a bit, but indeed the tendrils of these vines were firmly grasping onto the twine. Insects seemed to love their new home. Soon enough, I had bean pods forming and cucumbers setting fruit, and the sight of this trellis against the rising sun was not too shabby. In just a few weeks, this improvised trellis will be fully covered, clothed with lush greenery, adorned with clusters of scarlet bean flowers. As the growing season came to a close, when the days were getting cooler, the trellis was loaded with scarlet bean pods. They were heavy clusters. I had only actually planted a couple of seedlings, and they had loved the spot and had given a special charm to the porch. When growing vines, it is essential to provide trellises. Not only do they expand the growing space and essentially provide more square footage of sun exposure to plants, they will also get plants off the soil, which is very much important. It improves the air circulation and diminishes disease and pests. You will certainly get a better harvest this way. As the okra pumped out pods and the zinnia got tarnished, sensing winter's arrival, I left the bean pods to fully develop, ripen, and dry on the plants. While scarlet runner beans do not produce excessively here in Maryland, I am sure to get a good crop from these seedlings. A few more weeks and it would be ready to harvest to be used as a great ingredient in soups and stews. They are absolutely delicious.